Welcome back to another episode of the Where's Home podcast, hosted by Chandler Dantzler. You listen on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and watch on YouTube. Today we have former minor league player, head high school coach Jonathan Murphy. We're pumped to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Chan. Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, before we start digging into your career, high school ball and travel ball, I like to ask this question here. Who is Jonathan Murphy? How would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm the head coach at Trinity Christian Academy, about to start my 5th year here at Trinity. So that's a huge part of what I do. I'm a husband, a father. I have 4 kids, married to my wife, Camille. We've been married for coming up on 10 years in October. And I've got 8-year-old, 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and an 8-month-old all at the house. So that's a huge part of my life as well, obviously.
That's great. All right. Can you walk us through your baseball career all the way up from high school up to you getting drafted by the Twins back in 2012?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Jacksonville, so I played locally here at Providence School through my whole high school career. From there, went to Jacksonville University. I was preferred walk-on there as a freshman. Went there, played for all 4 years, and then got drafted as a senior in the 19th round to the Minnesota Twins. So as a senior signed and played with them for a couple seasons.
All right. Can you talk a little bit more about you getting drafted? How long were you in the league?
Yeah, so I got drafted, like I said, after my senior year. So for guys who are familiar with the draft as a senior, you don't have a lot of leverage. It's kind of, they come to you and you're just happy if you get a chance to get to keep playing. So I was really excited. There's not a lot of signing bonus there. I signed for $2,000. That's what they had to offer me. And so I took it. From there, it was 2012 when I got drafted. So it's about halfway through the minor league season when you get drafted. So I finished out 2012. And in 2013, I bounced back and forth between low A and high A. Low A was Cedar Rapids for the Twins. High A was Fort Myers, and then did the same thing in 2014 and got released right at the back end of the 2014 season.
Gotcha. All right. You mentioned you played at Jacksonville University. What was it like playing college in your hometown?
It was awesome. My family basically got to come to almost every game, which is really cool to have that support system there whenever you're playing, and being able to have them there was a great experience. I loved getting to kind of represent Jacksonville and play for my hometown. So I have nothing but great things to say about JU and my experience there.
That's great. All right. Let's now get into your coaching side here. You're currently the head coach at Trinity Christian Academy in Jacksonville, Florida. You also own an organization with Tommy Boss called Murphy Boss Academy. Can you talk about how you started coaching and where you started at?
Yeah. So growing up, even playing, I always knew that I had a desire and a heart to coach. Even as a player, I was always looking for opportunities to try to help other guys or ask other guys questions to see how they could help me. So I always just kind of had a desire to learn the game. And so I had a feeling I would get into coaching at some point in my career. And so as soon as I got released in 2014, I kind of started my coaching career at the high school level over at Providence for a few years, and
Gotcha.
just love getting to work with kids, love getting to build relationships, getting to hopefully pass my passion on for baseball to other kids and get them to kind of grab hold of that. And so I realized that's definitely where God was calling me, was into the coaching world. And so eventually I was fortunate enough that the Trinity job opened up kind of a dream job for me as a baseball coach, to be at a Christian school that really values their Christian beliefs and values athletics. There's been a ton of support here from administration and from the parents. And so it really is just a perfect fit for me and my family to be at Trinity, and just really blessed to have this opportunity.
That's great. All right. Let's now dig into your time at Trinity. Like you said, you're heading into your 5th season at Trinity. Can you talk about that program and what you have enjoyed the most?
Yeah, I think I touched on it earlier. It's just building relationships, getting to know the kids here at Trinity. You're one of them, Chance. So and you're one of the ones that helps lead the way with that. Just such hard workers here. We don't have to do a ton of motivating as a coaching staff, as far as, hey, you need to get your work in, you need to do this. A lot of our guys are intrinsically motivated. And as a coach, it doesn't get any better than that. When you have guys that show up every day, that want to work, that want to learn, that want to get better, that's a dream for a coach. And I couldn't ask for anything more from the group that we have here at Trinity, of guys that just want to work and get better every day. So I love getting to come to the field and be a part of it. We have an amazing coaching staff as well that I get to learn from each and every day, which makes it really enjoyable. And so, yeah, that's been a huge part of our program, of having guys that want to learn, want to work, want to get better.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Last season, we are kind of known as a young team with a lot of talent. We ended the year with a record of 22-5 Can you talk about last season and the success we had in the season?
Yeah, I was really proud of how the young guys competed, and I think people around town are very familiar with some of our young guys and the talent that we have coming through the program for sure. I think last year I was probably most proud of our seniors and the way that they led. I know they didn't necessarily get the same amount of publicity maybe that some of our younger guys do. Your brother being one of them, Jacob Miller, your brother Logan Dantzler, Ashton Nugent, Isaac Newman. They were all just really good leaders for us on the mound. We had Gage Denby, Landon Moore, and even Andres Vasquez, who got hurt last year, but having his presence, those guys, I just felt like they led so well for us. And that was a huge part of our success. When you have a young group that's kind of trying to figure out the varsity level for the first time, having those seniors to look to, I think made a huge difference for us. And it was to me, the biggest part of our success, not only their performance on the field, but just their ability to lead, to show those guys what it looks like to play at the varsity level. They didn't panic whenever we got in situations that were tough. And so I think that was a huge part of our success last year. And I'm excited that our young guys got to learn from them and now kind of carry on that tradition next year.
Yep, for sure. All right. What do you think the biggest challenge is coaching high school baseball?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is probably the biggest reward as well is, and I've touched on a lot, is building those relationships. So in a high school program, on any given year, we may have 35 to 40 guys in our high school program. And so taking the time, finding the time to build relationships with each of those guys and have those one-on-one conversations, I think is in a lot of ways the biggest challenge, just because as a coach, you're kind of put in so many different directions and things you're trying to accomplish and get done. But it's also the most rewarding part is when you can build those relationships and get to know someone at a personal level. That's why I do what I do. And so the biggest challenge and biggest reward are kind of together, is finding the time to do that. Taking the time to build those relationships can certainly be a challenge just because of time constraints, if nothing else. You've got 2-hour practice and you're trying to get so much done, and being able to find individual time, it can be a challenge, but it's definitely worth doing it and finding the time for that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about the coaching staff we have at Trinity. 2 former MLB pitchers by the name of John Wasden and Storm Davis. We have Danny English, outfield coach, Sebastian Moore, catcher coach, and hitting coach. And of course, you controlling the practices and helping with every position. Just talk about how fortunate enough we have those guys.
Oh man, I would put our staff up against any staff in the country for high school. I think I might be the least qualified coach on the staff, but the head coach. I mean, we've got, like you said, Storm Davis, John Wasden, both played in the big leagues for an extended period of time, had great playing careers. Then they both also coached at the professional level for an extended period of time. Having those 2 guys on staff is huge for me as still a relatively young coach. Just to be able to go to the way that they view the game is amazing. They've built relationships over so many years. So being able to bounce ideas off them about how to talk to guys, how to get the most out of guys has been invaluable. Danny English is amazing. I've been in the program the longest of anyone. So he understands the tradition of Trinity, and he's always looking to carry on that tradition, which is huge for us to be able to have someone that understands where this program has been, where we're trying to go, and the way that he just loves on the boys each and every day. He's so good at that and building those relationships. And then you've got Sebastian Moore, which I'm fortunate enough, he's the first coach I've ever had that played for me, which is a really cool experience as a coach. When you have someone that, and Sebastian, you could tell when he played that he was going to be a great coach, when he was a leader on the field. And so as soon as I got the opportunity to scoop him up, I jumped at it. And that's a really cool experience as a coach, to have someone that be able to bring them on staff. And so we're really lucky to have him as well.
That's great. All right. What were your favorite memories last season with those group of guys?
Yeah, I think the really cool thing last year, we got to take a decent amount of road trips, which I think a lot of fun. We travel in those 15-passenger vans, which I know that you guys like to complain about a lot, but good bonding time, right? We all kind of sit there and get on the road and get going. I'm probably going to leave out some trips, but obviously we went to Hoover last year, which was an awesome trip. And then we had a couple day trips thrown in there as well. I think we went to Vieira once, maybe out to Tallahassee another time. And so those trips are just a lot of fun. Get to kind of hang out together. We were fairly successful on most of those trips. I think the Vieira one was really cool because we went down there and then we came back and actually spent the night in the locker rooms and guys out on the field. those are the kind of memories I think that'll last. It was awesome, getting to do that and just spend time with you guys and get to know y'all on a more personal level. Those are probably my favorite memories from last year, is just getting to be on the road together.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about the complex at Trinity. We have one of the best complexes in Jacksonville. Are there any more renovation plans for this upcoming spring that we can talk about?
Oh, Chan. Okay. Trying to get a little, I appreciate that. So yeah, anyone who hasn't seen our complex, it's amazing. I got to give a shout out to James Couch, obviously kind of the mastermind behind all of that, and leading the charge for us between our locker room, our bullpen space that we have. If you come up, we fortunate enough to get some new bleachers this year as well and get those installed. We have one thing that we're hopeful for. I don't think I can release it yet to the public, but we're hoping for maybe an on-field improvement that we're working towards, that we may be announcing or working towards here in the coming weeks.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to travel ball here. You have been coaching through a couple of organizations now: Bomb Squad, Titans, Florida Burn, and now NBA. How did you get connected in coaching in travel ball?
Yeah, so coaching is a lot about relationships, obviously, and so who you have relationships with. And so, Bomb Squad is when I was over at Providence for a while, and I was able to be connected through there at Providence and be a part of Bomb Squad. And then when I came over to Trinity, we kind of did the Titans thing for a little bit, and same Florida Burn. And those guys, once we switched over there, building a relationship with them. And over time, I felt like as a young coach, I probably wasn't ready to just come out and run my own travel organization. There's a lot when you first start coaching a high school program, and I felt like I needed to kind of get that going at Trinity before I could take on maybe something of my own. And then big part of it, as far as the NBA coming about, was having Tommy Boss. He's an amazing partner. His relationships that he has in the college game are huge, and he's been a huge blessing to me. And without him, I don't think we would have been able to launch something on our own. But having him as a partner has been giving me maybe kind of the confidence to have someone else along that we felt like, we wanted to provide a quality travel ball experience to players and to their families. The travel ball world can be a little crazy, and to try to create that positive experience and positive environment with quality coaching and development and getting kids an opportunity to play at the next level. And having him alongside me, I think, has given us the opportunity to be able to build something that can do that for players going forward.
How did you get in contact with Tommy Boss to start an organization?
Yeah, so he got the job at Providence. I knew him from when he was at UNF, because he was the recruiting coordinator at UNF, and we'd had Eric Foraker from Trinity is over at UNF. So I got to know him a little bit during that time while they were recruiting Eric, and had spoken to him a couple of times over the phone. So when he got that Providence job, I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, man, thinking about running a travel organization. Don't know if you have any plans, but I don't think I can do it on my own. I need a partner that I can trust, that's got a good reputation. His reputation is unbelievable." And he kind of said, "Yeah, let's see if we can make it happen." And we took off from there and launched it last fall and got it going.
That's great. All right, let's now talk about the 2026 NBA scout team. 7 D1 commits were mainly all from the same area. You were fortunate enough to have over half the team on Trinity. Do you believe it is an advantage to have those guys mainly in the same area?
Yeah. So in Chan, we go to all these travel tournaments, right? And as you start to see, there's basically kind of two groups of travel teams. You've got your groups of local teams that come together and go try to compete. And then we're starting to see, as we get older, a lot more of these national teams. It didn't exist as much when we were younger, like the 13 and 14, but as we get older, there's some organizations out there that are able to grab players from all over the country. It's just kind of model. That's how they run things. Good, bad, and different. I don't really have any knocks on it, but it's definitely a different model from what we have. I don't know the exact number, but of our 14-man roster, I think 8 or 9 have probably been with us since about 13U. Practicing twice a week, 13U, 14U. And so this group's just been together so long. We've been through a lot together. We've been through some tough losses together. We've had some big wins together. And so I think when we get into tough situations, that group, we don't panic, and we know that we've got each other back. There's never any doubt of like, hey, do we care about each other? Are we going to have each other's back? Whether it goes great or things don't go our way, we always have each other's back. And I think that's huge for our team. It's led to a lot of our success. I think those relationships that you guys have built with each other, I know how much you guys care about each other. our ability to practice and develop together, I think is really important. And it's been a big part of it. It's definitely our preferred model as an organization. We like to have a team closer together so that we can practice together and get to know the boys. And so it's been a huge blessing for me just to get to be a part of that group with not only the talent that you touched on, obviously, guys, but just great kids who want to work and want to get a. It's been a huge blessing for me.
Yep. All right. What does the upcoming fall look like for the 26 scout team?
Yeah, so the fall is a little bit lighter schedule. During the summer we go run the circuit, and so during the fall we'll just play a couple tournaments. We'll do the sophomore WWBA. I think this year our group's going to make a run at one of the qualifying tournaments down in Sanford. That if you're fortunate enough to go win that tournament, you can get a bid down to Jupiter at Worlds, the big tournament. So I think we're going to try to make a run at that, and so we'll end up playing 2, maybe 3 tournaments in the fall, give an opportunity for you guys to train quite a bit, get stronger during this time of year, have a little bit of a somewhat off season so you can get in the weight room and do what you need to do to get the spring and summer grind that's coming up.
Yep. All right, here's a tough question here. What's the difference between coaching high school ball and travel ball?
Yeah, I think the amount of time you spend with the guys is one of the big differences. So, our high school season, we're about to start our fall program up. We'll go 4 days a week. And then during the spring, we're at least 5 and usually 6 days a week. And so we're just together all the time. And so it's definitely a different mentality, maybe, as far as the amount of practice that we're getting. And we try to practice with travel ball, but you got to experience it this last summer. Once we start playing games, it's kind of like we hit that circuit. I think at one point this last summer with our 26 group, it felt like there was a 3-week stretch and we played 3 tournaments with maybe a total of 5 or 6 off days between over this 3.5 weeks. And so there's no practice time. You're spending a lot of time together, just different. You're at tournaments and doing that kind of thing. So I think the high school affords you the opportunity to maybe develop guys a little bit more and kind of spend some more time on mechanical things and that kind of when you have practice day in and day out. I think, the high school season, there's a little bit more emphasis on, obviously we want to win a state championship. We want to win in travel ball. We always want to win whenever we line it up, but we're out there to get guys opportunities to play at the next level, to challenge ourselves against great competition. So for sure, a little different mentality between the two. I enjoy both. They're both really enjoyable. I think it's good for players to have both of those too, where you have one where you're practicing a lot, and then you have one where it's like, hey, let's just go play some games and see how we line up the best teams in the country.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's kind of take it away from baseball here for a minute. A few questions. What do you do in your free time outside of baseball?
I am a pretty boring guy. I don't have a whole lot of hobbies. I got 4 children, like I said, that takes up a good amount of my time. So we try to be involved at church as much as we can during our off time. Try to take my kids to the park. My son's getting into baseball now, Titus. He's 6, so we spend a decent amount of time up at the field with him. My oldest daughter starting to get into running a little bit, so she's going to be part of a running team this spring. And so most of my non-baseball time is spent with the family for the most. I'm a terrible golfer. Not much. So my wife is really gracious. I spend a lot of time at the baseball field, so I try to do my best whenever I'm not there to be as all in on family as I can, just because of the amount of sacrifices they make for me to be able to do what I do with baseball.
Yeah, for sure. All right. How's the game of baseball helped you become a better person?
Yeah, baseball, I think, teaches you a ton about yourself. It reveals a lot of character. Any competitive sport, but especially baseball, when you're dealing with failure so much. I've had plenty of failure in my career and difficulties. I think it's taught me how to persevere and push through that failure. I wasn't a super highly recruited guy out of high school. I know we've got a bunch of young guys that have rightfully so been highly recruited. I wasn't that guy, that colleges were beating down the door to get to me. So I felt like I had to work really hard to get anything in this game that I was able to accomplish. And I think that has helped me a ton just with life. You've got to work hard to get what you want. And then there's going to be times even when you work hard, you may not accomplish so how do you deal with that? How do you handle failure when you put everything in and maybe it still doesn't go your way? Are you still able to bounce back from that? And I think baseball affords you that opportunity to find out a lot about yourself and your character and your ability to push through difficult times.
Yeah. All right. If you could give any advice to someone wanting to play at the next level, what would you say to them?
Get in the weight room. That would be my number one. If you go look at a college baseball, look at their roster, go watch a college baseball game and just look at the physicality
Mm-hmm.
of those guys. You can't control your height necessarily, but you can control getting in the weight room. And
Yeah.
so there's getting bigger, faster, stronger. There's just certain levels you're going to have to hit as a baseball player. It's not the end all be all, the metrics. I know we've got so many different organizations and companies that measure these things now, but
Yeah.
they matter. They're not the end all be all. You still got to be able to play the game. You got to be able to hit. You got to be able to field and do those things. But if you don't have a certain level of strength and speed and arm strength, it's going to be difficult for you to even get on those guys' radar. So you want to be a guy that can do both. You got to be able to play the game, but you've got to have that level, that prerequisite measurables essentially. And I think the only way to really get to those is through the weight room and
Yeah.
getting after and training. And I think our group's done a really good job of that and been able to see the benefits. I know how hard you've been working in the weight room personally over these
Mm-hmm.
last couple of years, how much it's benefited you on the field. You've been able to kind of see it firsthand.
Yep. All right, Murph. Thank you for coming on the podcast, and good luck with your upcoming season.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chan.
Yep.